You know, I've worked a lot of different jobs over the years, and I'd have to say that I personally think that all of them are essential. It's weird to sit here and think, geez, if I'd have kept that job, I'd be essential and still working. But Jay Inslee obviously thinks that some things are essential and some things aren't. So my son and I made a little video about some of the things we've seen around here in Snohomish. Enjoy. Governor Jay Inslee has us all on a mandatory stay-at-home order unless you're an essential worker lockdown for the quarantine, and he's got a lot of restrictions on the things that we can and can't do. So we're going to go drive around and take a look and see what Jay Inslee's doing to protect us. Here at Safeway, this entrance is usually closed after 10 o'clock at night. Now it's closed all day, and their hours, usually from 5 a.m. to 1 a.m., are limited. We couldn't tell if we were supposed to play hopscotch or not outside of our local Albertsons the other day. It's so bad here in Washington State that I've resorted to using a hairdryer. My hair's so long. Otherwise I look like a homeless guy. And my son here, his fro is growing out to the point where he's actually considered cutting it himself. Scary. Nope, we can't get a haircut. They're closed. Looks like we can't get a pedicure or eyelash extensions. Waxing's out of the question. In a lot of states, you can't buy things like seeds or electronics or something, but in Washington State, you can't buy a car. Now, there's a little caveat there. You can buy a car if you're an essential worker, and you can buy a car if you are closing a pending transaction that began before Governor Inslee's proclamation. You can also replace a totaled vehicle and replace a damaged vehicle that is impractical to repair, or you can extend a lease that expires or provide transportation to essential workers. But that's it. You got to sign a certificate of fact saying that, yeah, my vehicle was totaled, or it's irreplaceable or unfixable in a realistic situation. So you've got to basically sign off that you actually meet the obligations there. And then the other part of that, Jay Inslee has dictated how the transaction can actually take place. So on-site visits to the dealership are by appointment only. So he's actually now dictating how you can do business, and they must be scheduled remotely. And then two, only one dealership employee may be present in the dealership building, showroom, or office at any one time. And that employee may only be present during the duration of the sale. Service shops are open in other places, other shops, other dealerships that have separate service departments. They're able to keep their service department open and do retail service because auto service is an essential activity. But buying a car, not so much. You cannot shop for a vehicle. As part of the sales transaction, the buyer must certify that the purchase is essential for one of the reasons provided above, and all activities must be conducted in a manner that complies with social distancing and sanitation measures established in Proclamation 20-25. So basically, we're being trained on the new way that Jay Inslee is allowing us to do business going forward. So this looks like Jay Inslee's in here dictating how we can do business, if we can do business at all. You can still buy weed. I guess Jay Inslee thinks that's an essential item. You can come in and buy some booze and a sandwich to go. But sitting for a dine-in meal, according to Jay Inslee, that's a no-no. You certainly cannot go camping. You are safer at your house than you are out in the middle of nowhere. Private campgrounds are open, but that's mainly reserved for people who live there. It says here, please be mindful that private campgrounds will remain open to ensure that long-term residents are not displaced. To the greatest extent possible, avoid using this bulletin to justify vacationing in an unsafe manner.
The video I played at the beginning of the stream was a video I made during the initial shutdown when I was laid off and declared non-essential. And that was really the instigating factor when I decided to step in and run for this seat in the 1st Legislative District. I heard that there was an appointed Democrat that had been appointed to the seat, and my local representatives here, none of them stood up. They all just stayed silent when Jay Inslee shut down our economy and declared economic winners and losers, made people non-essential, and I don't think that he was within his constitutional authority doing that. And the seat was available, or is available here. It's got an appointed Democrat running unopposed. So I stepped up when the local Republicans reached out and said they needed somebody to run for this seat. I've got my website up here, adambartholomew.org, and it lists some of the things that initially got me into the race here. This is who I'm running against, Davina Dewar. And I was looking at the Progressive Voters Guide here, and it says right here, she's running against Adam Bartholomew, whose platform is very conservative. He does not support common sense, age-appropriate sex education, and is not open to finding new sources of revenue. Dewar is the clear choice in this race. When I was initially laid off when Jay Inslee's shutdown started, 2 days after that, at 2 in the morning, is when the Washington State Legislature passed the new sex ed curriculum requirements. And in the middle of a pandemic, it didn't seem like that was if I'm being declared non-essential, but yet marijuana stores and all these other places are still able to stay open. And meanwhile, in the middle of the night, they're passing this sex ed bill. That didn't seem like they had anybody's best interest at heart, certainly not the people in our district, the working families and the small businesses in our district that were forced to shut down. And the night of the morning of the primary election, I actually got an email from a voter who was asking about my plans and what I plan to do and why I was running, and they shared a really touching story about their being laid off and losing their job during Jay Inslee's shutdown, and how they have filed unemployment claims and not received any benefits that they've worked so hard to receive. Working so hard over the years, getting these benefits built up in the system and not receiving them. And then people hearing about the Nigerian scammers that actually did receive the funds that were meant for Washingtonians who were unemployed and have lost lots and lots of money and have been hurt tremendously by Jay Inslee's shutdown. And what did he do? Instead of launching efforts to support people who have not received their claims, Jay Inslee instituted contact tracing and all sorts of new measures, restricted people from going to church and doing all sorts of things. And what he should have done, we don't need contact tracers for the pandemic right now. We need claims tracers for unemployment claims. Washingtonians are hurting right now, and they're not hurting from the pandemic. They're hurting financially. The same thing is true where it says here that I'm not open to finding new sources of revenue. That's so silly. There seems to be a big push right now to institute or do an end run around our Constitution and try and institute a income tax here in Washington State, which we all know it goes against our Constitution. It is unconstitutional here to implement an income tax, and the Democrats are trying their hardest. And they say here that I'm not open to finding new sources of revenue. We have a great source of revenue here in the Pacific Northwest. That's our tremendous economy. We need to reopen our state. Currently, we are operating under a series of emergency mandates from Governor Inslee. And our representatives, Davina Dewar and Shelley Kloba and Derek, the senator, they have said nothing. They have not stood up for Washington's working families, the small businesses that have been shut down. They haven't done anything. They have not stood up to Jay Inslee. And that we all need to stand up. We need to end this ridiculous shutdown. We need to end these emergency orders, reopen our economy, and get Washingtonians back to work. All jobs are essential. Every single job is essential. If your job puts food on your table, your job is essential. And that's how we get more revenue. We reopen our economy and end this ridiculous shutdown. For some reason, our local representatives here have stayed silent on this. I have the Democrat list of accomplishments here that they've sent out, the 2020 session wrap-up, and they talk about all of the things they're so proud of, but they don't mention anything about the sex ed curriculum mandate that they passed at 2 in the morning, 2 days after our shutdown started. They don't seem to be very proud of that. And the pushes here for increasing taxes in a time when we are struggling, when our state economy is starting to falter and struggle, we need to end the shutdown. We need to lower taxes. Government needs to get out of the way of our businesses so that we can increase our revenue. That's how we get our revenue stream back. That's how we fix this budget shortfall. We do that by reopening our economy as soon as possible. I'm running for office so that I can step up and provide myself with somebody to vote for this November in the general election. But also, I'm going to stand up for working families and small businesses. It seems like the only businesses being stood up for here in Washington State are big tech, big giant corporations. If you're a Fortune 500 company, Jay Inslee will allow you to stay open during the next shutdown. But if you're a small business, you're going to be forced to close. They already announced that if the death rate reaches 8 people per million in our state, they will shut down our economy once again. Probably it will happen before the election. That's what I fear. And I think that that is the wrong way to go. I don't think that the shutdowns are helping the situation at all. Jay Inslee is just making it worse, and our representatives need to stand up. They need to stand up, and they need to stand against another shutdown. That's why I decided to run for office, because I think all jobs are essential, and I think we need to reopen our economy. It's common sense. We need a common sense approach. I'm not a politician. I'm just a regular guy that was declared non-essential, and I don't think that's right. Anyway, I'm running for office. Go to adambartholomew.org. Please support my campaign. I've got signs coming. I want to put signs all over the district. We're going to start doing some targeted Facebook marketing, and we're going to get the word out that this is not going to be a situation where we just lay down and let this happen. We're going to fight every single day until this election. You're going to see me out on the street waving flags and waving signs, and I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to get the word out. I'm going to start covering the news and discussing solutions, real world solutions that I think could possibly help our district and help Washington as a whole. So please join me, and please support my campaign. Thanks, everybody.